At the end of 18 months, I decided that my usefulness for SOS, Kinderdorf International, had come to an end, and it was time to do something else. So, with great fear and trepidation and uncertainty, let me tell you, I'm not sure that I'm a man of faith. Maybe you're a man of faith, but there are times where I do not have very much faith, and I just say, God help me. God help me. I believe that this is what I should do, but you're going to have to help me. And always it's as though he taps me on the shoulder and says, yeah, I will. Historically, this is how people manage. Do you remember how Joshua tried to take 3.2 million people across the Jordan? And he said, God, I can't do it. And God said, you can't. I know you can't, but I can. You just walk close with me. You just do what I tell you. Go straight ahead. Don't go off to the right. Don't go off to the left. Keep my word in your heart. Meditate on it. Do it. And have courage, for I will never fail you.
Specifically, what was it you were going to do? You were leaving the Kinderdorf, the SOS villages?
Yes. Well, so what we did then was there was an enormous need of people out on the lake shore of the lake in a place called Ngozi. And there was no medical help of any kind. There was nothing. So I got a truck to replace my Mustang convertible.
Because that's not going to do well on the back roads of Africa,
not
right?
Not at all. And an old beaten-up truck, and I had 2 boxes of medicines, and I had a nurse and an interpreter who could speak Chichewa and good English. His name was Watson Kwanankatonde. And one eye goes that way, the other way, he's got a divergent squint, so you never know where he's looking. But he's a great fella, great man, and he was my interpreter. And the 3 of us put down a table, chairs, and the medicines from the back of the truck under a baobab tree. You know the baobab trees, the trees that look as though they're upside-down trees.
The roots look like...
That's right, and we had our first clinic there. After I'd been there for about half an hour, there were 400 people there, children, all pressing in, much closer than you and I are now, because they have no sense of distance. They want to be touching this Azungu, this white man, seeing what he is.
So it's all just
They'd never seen a white man close to, and they'd never seen a doctor, of course. So there it was. I was a doctor and a nurse, and we started seeing patients.
Just with your truck and a table.
Just like that.
Chair.
Stupid, isn't it? I mean, it really is. That's not the way you do things.
Well, you know, I don't think it was stupid because there wasn't another doctor there. If they had, if there was medical facilities and stuff, and you were,
well, that's it. You see, the conventional way of doing it would be to join a mission, a medical organization or something that does have facilities, has become established, has worked out how to accomplish things. But I, for some reason, believed that I was called to be a pioneer.
And that's where the stupidity comes in.
Well, it is, isn't it?
Yeah, and I want to ask you kind of what the repercussions are of making such a stupendously radical and some say stupid decision. But we'll get that when we come back.
Okay. And then very quickly I realized that the need was so immense that I could be there all the time.
Hello, welcome back to Close Up. So what happens when a newbie doctor from Canada goes and sets up shop in Africa and really doesn't know what he's doing? Well, listen up, because Dr. Brooks is going to tell us just that. We've got you on the edge of a lake, surrounded by hundreds of children. You've got medicine.
Hundreds of sick children, starving children.
Right.
Dirty children, poverty-stricken children.
And those are all your modifiers for you, you know.
That's my practice, yeah.
And what happens from that point? I mean, you go out and, you know, infrastructure is non-existent. What starts to happen?
I started off just going out there once every 2 weeks while I was working at SOS and doing it as a sort of outreach clinic, we called it. And then when I left SOS, I started doing it once every week. And then very quickly I realized that the need was so immense that I could be there all the time. So I started going out there 2 or 3 times a week. But it's a long way from Lilongwe. It's quite a drive, 150k. So I couldn't do this all the time. I did it as often as I could, and then every time I'd have to pack everything out in the back of my truck, my pickup truck, half-ton pickup, and drive it back. And so the next development was to build a little shed so we could leave it all there and leave all the stuff. And then by this time I was getting used to, the people were getting used to me, and the chiefs and all the children of the peace, and they'd be waving to Dokotala, Dokotala coming in. So
what was that word?
Dokotala.
Dokotala?
My name is Dokotala Klispluks.
Dokotala Klispluks?
Yes, because they get their R's and their L's mixed up. So Chris Brooks comes out at Klispluks.
Oh, okay.
Like my daughter Chloe is Crowy Blooks.
Crowy Blooks.
Crowy Blooks. My daughter is Crowy Blooks. She is a very nice little girl. She also is a delight, and she's blonde and fair. And whenever she comes out, it's very difficult for her because all the children all want to run their hands through her hair and touch her and feel her and so on.
And it's a little overwhelming?
It is. It was when she was 3. She was 3 years old when we went out there.
You've got a shed. Because you've got quite an organization happening now, do you know?
Well, slowly it began to develop. You know, you don't just come along and just sort of plant down an organization. You don't do it like that. At least it doesn't work like that, I find, with God. God doesn't just sort of open heaven and then drop $1 million on you. He just gives you just a little bit so that you can get on and do the things that you have in your heart to do.
Just enough to keep...
And I just had these things in my heart to do. Fortunately, he didn't give me too much too quickly, otherwise I probably would have messed it up. But just enough, enough to buy another bottle of medicines. And enough to give something to the nurse who was coming out for me, because the people out there earn nothing. This is of the 207 countries in the world, Malawi is the 204th in terms of prosperity. So they have nothing, and the children have nothing, and all the children are there with no clothes, with clothes, but they'll just have a shirt and a pair of pants, and no shoes, nothing else. Very often, no house.
And how did you afford medicines, and how did you have that? Was it from savings from here, or?
Yes. Well, it was a little bit of that. Mainly, it was coming back and people saying, "Hey, do you know Chris Brooks? Do you know what he did? He's gone to Africa, and he's helping the people who don't have anything. Tell you what, let's give him a little bit of money," and they'd reach into their pocket and give me $100, and that's how I got the money to start off with. And it grew out of that. More and more people would hear what we were doing and say, "That's good." You know, many Canadians are very generous people. And if they hear that you're doing something that's worthwhile, they want to be part of it. The difficulty is making, this is what I discovered, is letting people know that what you're doing actually is genuinely, in reality, worthwhile. People tend to be a bit cynical and think, it's not worth it, it's not doing it. But slowly
like
that
cynical,
happens.
just saying, "Oh, look, what do they say? It's not worth it," or?
Well, they say all sorts of things. I remember being interviewed a couple of years ago here, about 4 years ago, as a matter of fact,